The reason you sound scripted when you speak to the camera has nothing to do with whether you actually use a script. In fact, after coaching hundreds of creators and generating over 29 million views on YouTube, I've learned that the real problem is what you subconsciously start to focus on the moment you start delivering to the camera. Most people's attention goes on themselves, on the words, on how they sound, on whether they're getting it right. And the moment that happens, you're not talking to anyone anymore. You're performing for yourself and you get self-conscious. And that is exactly why you sound scripted. Luckily, the reason why this is happening is simpler than you think. And it's not because you're not confident or because you have some sort of personality defect. It's simply because you don't have a clear enough intention about how you want to affect your viewer, what you want to get them to do and why. And when that's not your main focus, you have nowhere to focus on except back on yourself. So to help you fix this, I'm going to walk you through a different scripting process, a scripting process that keeps you fully focused on who you're talking to all the way through and prevents you from sounding like you're reciting a script at any point. The order of the steps matters, so don't skip ahead, because if you follow the steps in the right order, you will never sound like you're reading a script again, even if you're using autocue. So let's say you've done some research, you've identified some key challenges your viewers typically have, and you've decided to make a video with some content to help them overcome these challenges. Great. Here's where most creators simply start writing it down, either in bullet points or as a script. But that's exactly the mistake that can make you sound scripted. I've made this mistake myself for years, and because of it, I used to sound as monotonous as anything. I was missing the most vital part of the whole reason why I was making a video in the first place, to get the viewer to do something. See, the question you actually need to start with is this: what do I want the viewer to do at the end of this video? Sign up, or book a call, watch a specific next video, go to try something specific today, change the way they approach something from this point forward. That's the whole point of making a video, isn't it? And if you're wondering, okay, but how does this stop me from sounding scripted when I speak to the camera? Patience. I'll explain soon how this makes such a difference to your delivery, and it will all make sense. But first we need to go to the second step. Okay, so now you have your goal, now you can start writing your script, right? Wrong. I recommend you hold off writing specific content at this point and you do this first. Create a structure for your viewer's journey and ask, in order to get the viewer naturally to want to take the action I want them to take at the end, what do I need to make them do step by step? For example, am I trying to make them feel intrigued at the beginning? Or worried about making a mistake, or getting them excited, or feel challenged, or cajoled into actually trying something rather than just nodding along and doing nothing? For now, each section, try to come up with at least one main answer to this question, one main action. For example, I started this video off with trying to get you intrigued. Then I wanted to get you to be reassured, then fascinated. So listen back to the beginning of the video and see if you hear it, and most importantly, if you can feel it. And by the way, I call this an active communication mindset. It is the opposite of a passive communication mindset. And passive is when you're maintaining a status quo. You're saying it, but you're mostly just trying to get it right. You're not really aiming to change someone to affect the viewer. And the side effect, you most likely sound like you're reading a script. Active is when you're deliberately trying to have an impact on the person watching, affect their state in some way, make them do something. The side effect of that is you definitely don't sound like you're reading a script. And here's the part most people don't realize. Assigning intention to each section doesn't just change how you deliver it, it also changes how you write it. The words you reach for when you're trying to make somebody worried are different from words you reach for when you're trying to make them feel excited, right? You choose words that help you achieve your now clear goal. And when you write with that in mind, what you write also sounds far more natural and authentic because it has a goal attached to it. And that goal is what keeps you focusing on them, the audience, not yourself. From the moment that you start writing all the way through to the moment when you press record and start talking to the camera. And by the way, if you want to know whether your videos are actually landing, whether you're having an effect on your viewer or not, whether you're genuinely in an active communication mindset or a passive one, as a first step to potentially working together, I offer a free video assessment session. You send me a video, I watch it, I'll tell you exactly what's working, what isn't, and what you could do differently to have the impact that you're actually aiming for. Link is below if you want to find out more. Back to the video. You've got the goal, you've got the intentions for the sections, and only now do you start writing. But if you write like most beginner creators do, then you will still ruin things despite the first two steps, which most creators already don't take. Because the biggest mistake that a lot of people make with script writing is writing scripts as if they were writing a blog post rather than a script they would actually say to someone. Most people write the way they were taught to write. In school, probably. Complete sentences, formal structure, grammatically correct. And that's what makes it sound scripted when you say it out loud, because nobody really speaks like that. You don't always use complete sentences in conversation with a friend. You don't use complicated words. You break things up. You know, nobody speaks like they write. So you have to master the art of writing like you speak. For example, if I said this, confidence on camera is developed through consistent practice and a clear understanding of the techniques involved. Perfectly correct, completely dead, right? Compare that to confidence on camera isn't something that just comes to you. It's something you need to build step by step. Same idea, but completely different to actually say it out loud and listen to. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're writing word for word or you're outlining with bullets to improvise over, because even bullet points need to be simple and sound like you're having a conversation. So here's the trick. Do this. Say it out loud at full speed. If you're struggling, if you stumble, if it feels formal, if you have to slow down to get through it, rephrase it until it doesn't anymore and you can actually just easily say it. Okay, now you have a clear goal, you have intentions assigned to every section, you have a script written that you can actually say out loud, and it sounds like you're a human. At this point, you have somewhere to focus. The intention is clear, but if all of this stays in your head, and you're just intellectually understanding what your intention is and how you need to get the viewer there, then the moment the camera goes on, you will still switch back onto yourself with your attention. You start listening to yourself, you start monitoring, and you're right back to performing for yourself rather than actually talking to somebody. And that's completely understandable, by the way. It's probably the most natural response to being recorded, but it is the thing we're fighting against here, right? So the way to overcome this is to make it blatantly obvious what your intention is at each section of the script. Literally write it next to the section before you record. Now, me personally, I use what I learned in drama school. So I write something like relaxed, and I know that means I want you to be relaxed. Or intrigued, and I know that means I want you to be intrigued. But you can also write it in a different way. Like, for example, I'm warning you, or isn't this exciting? Or you better listen to this part because it matters. Or come on, you can do this. Yeah? Say it out loud before you jump back into the script and shoot the next section in that tone. Lock in what you're trying to do to that person before you start doing it. Because the moment you're genuinely aiming at the viewer, trying to make them do or feel something specific, the self-monitoring stops. You're too busy trying to affect them and direct their attention to have time to listen to yourself. That's the active communication mindset in action. And that is what makes a scripted video sound like you never had a script at all. Now, I admit that this can be hard to do in practice for some people, especially, of course, if you spend your whole life listening to yourself when you're on camera or even in your life. So again, if you're not sure whether you're actually getting there, whether your delivery is landing with the impact that you're aiming for, or whether the passive communication mindset is still creeping in without you realizing, that's exactly what the video assessment is for. You send me a video, I'll watch it properly, and I'll tell you honestly what's working, what isn't, and what you could do differently. Links below. And in case you're already a personal client of mine and you don't need the video assessment, watch this one next, because the next thing I see even experienced creators get wrong is this: trying to be yourself on camera. And I want to show you why that very attempt, trying to be yourself, actually can make you more self-conscious than you were when you started. Watch it here right now.